B grade rolls away. C grade up to the line now.
Gibson on the right. Bolton going down the middle.
Welcome to round 4 of this 2024 Summer Series. It is a week unlike any other because for that past Tuesday night, it was a race without the vocal cords of Paul Craft, and he won't actually be joining us for tonight's podcast. But don't worry, it's the usual man himself who's busy directing the back of C grade, Mr. John Sunday. Good evening, John.
Hey, Alexi. How are you? I noticed it was very quiet.
It was very quiet on Tuesday night. It was one of those nights where you suddenly realize what an amazing job Paul Craft does. I mean, look, Vaughan did a very good attempt at being Paul Craft. He added a few more teeth, but it really was missing them just that little 2%. But I thought the other interesting part of Tuesday night was the return of someone else, and that was the puppet master, Colin Imunger, because the handicap that he set on Tuesday night brought it down to the absolute wire with all grades coming together with one to go. Now, when we were there on the sidelines during the night, we actually didn't think A would make that catch. And all of a sudden, I saw Colin disappear behind the block. He obviously got his strings out like a puppet master and just did a little pulling into it. And then the catch was back on. I mean, it was a pretty good, interesting night of rising.
Yeah,
and,
so I think that if you work on the calculation of 10 seconds a lap, I think at 2 laps to go, it was 23 seconds. So A grade really had their work cut out. And the other thing with catching so late in the race, not only do you have to catch the grade in front of you, but to get through the grade in front of you, to be able to hit the front. And my God, they did that on that last lap.
And the weird thing was that this was the first time, I think, because we had 3 peaks on the weekend and a number of the riders that were obviously A grade looked absolutely shattered during that race. Like there were a number of riders, Phil Lucas and so they just looked like they were dead on their legs. And you thought there is no way they are going to make that catch to B grade.
Well, the other thing that wears them out, or wears out any grade, when you've got lesser numbers, it's on everyone's shoulders to do that little bit of extra work. So you might be only pulling 1 turn per lap. All of a sudden you're pulling a turn and a half per lap, and that adds up over 15 laps. So that would be a reasonable explanation why they all look so exhausted.
Yeah, because it was just even someone like Jack Bennett, who the week before won the race, didn't look like he had a bead of sweat on him. You could see he was digging deep, and I suppose that's like me going to the opera tonight. That's the drama of Heffron Park.
Another opera. My God, where's your tux? How come there's no tux tonight?
That's right. That'll go on a little later.
Well, in a way, Alexi, Heffron Park's like an opera. It's got everything that's in an opera. It's got drama, it's got tragedy, it's got excitement, it's got sorrow, and it's got a villain. There's, all those villains in opera. Because I would swear that I saw Baron Scarpia at Heffron on Tuesday night. And if anyone doesn't know who Baron Scarpia, he's the villain in Puccini's Tosca opera, and he's a police chief, and he abuses his power to kill all the men that are so he can get after their girlfriends and wives. But I'm sure I saw Baron Scarpia down there.
It sounds like you've done a bit of research before this podcast, John. That doesn't sound like something that was just rolled off your tongue. But it was a night of high drama because I think C grade were probably out of the race a little early this week. Although the thing that blew me away from C grade is the international riders that are now lining up at Heffron, and one of them took the line in C grade. That was young Andrew Horn, I believe his name was.
So Andrew is he's the first year juvenile under 17, 15 and a half years old, turns up in Sydney with his dad, finds out about Tuesday night Heffron, which of course is natural because people talk about it all over the globe, I guess. And he's come down on Tuesday night to see what it's all about. Was very keen to race. And he jumped in. And if you may have noticed that when the gun went for Seagrave to go, he was off like a rattlesnake. Oh, he just took off. Andrew, calm down. I know you're full of beans.
It was great. We actually caught up with Andrew after the race, Andrew and his dad, and they had this to say.
Andrew, go over from the States. When did you get here, mate?
Yesterday.
Unreal, and you did something that's not really done much here on a Tuesday night. You went away in a little early break in those first few laps, but you looked very comfortable out there. How was it?
It was good, and then just looked back and nobody else was going, and I was like, it's probably not a good idea to sit in front, so that's when I kind of just took a step back, sat in the back, and then just got destroyed on the last lap. So
unreal. And Dad, you're out here for holidays or just out here visiting?
That's correct. We're out here just visiting for 9 days, and literally we got here last night or yesterday, and we're on the track today. So we're very excited. You guys are awesome. So
anyone who reckons that you can't race with jet lag, this young little fella just absolutely ripped it. How was the rest of the bike race for you? It's a pretty fast little course this one, and not too wide, huh?
It was going pretty good. Felt pretty comfortable towards the end. Wasn't really feeling it on this bike. I've ridden it for like 2 hours, so just getting used to it. And what's funny is it's what time is it? It is 1 o'clock American time right now, 1 a.m. So
probably time for a little nap. Well, yeah. Congratulations, well done, and welcome to Heffron Park, and thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
But I found the other interesting part with Andrew racing is that's right, like that they literally, as he said there in the interview, arrived that morning. Tuesday afternoon, they're racing. It kind of makes you realize they're either listening to this podcast in California and going, we've got to get it ourselves. And I can only assume that's the reason they're on this 9-day holiday. Or people think Opera House, Harbour Bridge, Heffron Park.
Absolutely. It all rolls off the tongue. It's only natural.
So the C grade started out and they had 3 riders who actually went off, might have even been 4 riders who went off the front on the very first lap. And I know Andrew was one of them. And I actually thought to myself, I looked at a couple of them and I know at least one of them didn't DNF. And you thought, half of that group looks like they can ride 14 laps. The other half look like they're good for about half a lap. And so I don't know, John, what was going on?
Happened. So there was a little mini break. Andrew and Manly rider at the gun. 3 other riders got across. And all of a sudden, a lap and a half into the race, there's 4 or 5 of them off the road, and you could see a few people coming to the front. So we got to close this down, but no impact. And but then all of a sudden, the mini break started to implode, as I thought it might have. And then it all came back together and settled down. It was really interesting riding the C grade on Tuesday night because what I realised that a lot of people in C grade just don't understand the dynamics of wind. And my theory is if you ask someone to go and fly a kite, which way would you put the kite into the wind? So if you're riding a bike, why would you ride away from the wind?
Okay, so put it in perspective. You're riding down the straight on Tuesday night. So you are the rider. Now, the wind would be coming the strongest from your left-hand side, I believe, and blowing across so it's coming from the swimming center. So as a group, you hit the straight and you're on the front. Where do you go?
You go to the far left because the wind is coming from behind your left shoulder. And so here's the thing, though. What happens at the end of the straight, Alexi? You turn right. So where's the wind coming from when you turn right?
Behind you.
On your right shoulder. So why would you be in the left-hand gutter? Yeah, quite a few C graders couldn't quite work that out, but give them time, and hopefully they will. And in fact, that most probably cost them more time per lap than any other manoeuvre. When they were rolling well into the wind, they were moving along quite nicely. But it was just those moments in the crossover sections of the track that they just get confused, I think.
And you didn't go off the front this week, John?
Well, you weren't there, so I had no one to ride with.
And how'd you go? Where'd you end up?
2 laps to go. I told my wife I'd actually pulled out 3 laps to go, but I think it's 2 laps to go.
Perfect.
I really enjoyed it, actually. Really, really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic night, like a beautiful night to race. The wind wasn't too strong. It was certainly there. but the conditions were great. It really, and I think everyone enjoyed it as well.
So you've got 2 weeks to go. So there's plenty of opportunity to come down for other C graders and give you some support.
Certainly is.
So then we started off, and I was looking at B. And the other bizarre thing is because I was on the microphone for the first time, and everyone was there. And occasionally, apparently, I was calling C grade, B grade. And, oh, that's B grade, that's C grade. And look, I kind of consider myself like a tiger parent. Like if you're not getting A's, then I don't care what it is. They're all bad. But B grade on Tuesday night were riding phenomenally well. From the very beginning, they were motoring. And you basically had every Centennial Park rider sitting in the front. And so I'll call them out as I kind of conveniently look at the finishing sheet. We had Chris Simpson, obviously was there, Andrew Jacobs, Neil Percival, Tom Hyde, and Ben Glastonbury. Early on they were a well-oiled machine. And then you also had Phil Taff was in there, and Richard Brooks was the other rider. Those guys were doing the work early on.
Rich Brooks, he's a horse, that guy. Really, really strong. But big shout out to the Centennial Park squad.
That's right.
The purple dominated B grade.
And they were dominated. And then there was like this changing of the guard midway through where all of a sudden they kind of obviously needed a slight breather. And then you had Johnny Papard and Greg Rule just lap after lap sitting there at the front, rolling around and keeping the pace high. We were saying there was no way. It was very clearly on you like, okay, C grade, they're probably out of it. No one is catching B grade tonight. They were just rolling lap after lap because you looked back at A grade, while they were single file, they looked dead on their legs. Like there was I don't think there was a single attack from A grade on Tuesday night.
Yeah, because there weren't enough of them, and the few that were there, they all had, they all took the responsibility on their shoulders that they had to really dig deep and, keep it together, go as hard as they possibly could to make the catch. I remember B grade coming through C grade. I think there was about 4 to go. A little bit fragmented when they came in, but I agree. They were looking well, and I think they most probably they thought they had it right up until the bell.
Yeah, that's right. And I think they thought they had it about halfway through because Rolando decided to come in mid-race, said he had a flat tire, but basically seemed to take a mid-race siesta and thankfully got in there with enough. So you were like, he's setting himself up. They're thinking B grade for the win. You could see clearly Chris Simpson, he was getting ready. And you even had, Ben Coates wasn't even attacking. He was sitting in. They were all going, this is the B grade win.
Ben Coates had a new race strategy this week, and that was don't use your bickies up at the beginning of the race when no one cares. Wait to the end, Benny boy.
That's right. So they were all lining up, getting ready for the big, Phil Hersey, everyone was there, rolling turns on Tuesday. It was pretty impressive. From all accounts, there was maybe 1 or 2 who didn't do the work, but I think it was purely down to once it got to 2 or 3, they suddenly thought we can win this, and they've stalled. They made that fatal error of they took 2 laps to go. We were on the sideline. Everyone's agreed it's a B grade victory tonight. Let's see them. Let's cheer them on as they get up. And A grade have gone, thank you very much. We'll close that down.
The fatal error is the hitters, the ones that are driving it, that when they start thinking about their own opportunity, there's no one left to drive it. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And then, because that was the sad thing, it was almost like B grade rode a perfect race, but they were just A grade. That I'd actually say that was the best A grade race as a grade this season. It was certainly the most impressive.
Yeah,
like they've certainly gone
cohesive.
faster, but they've never ridden as well as they did on Tuesday night. That was pretty impressive. And so as we saw from the opening video, they make the catch on the very last lap in your favourite place, coming into the Squircle.
The Squircle, the U-turn in the Squircle. What a great place to pass 60 riders.
You see Lucas Stevenson, you see they're just straight up the inside, away they go. But the most bizarre thing, and I think obviously a man who rode the hardest 200 metres of his life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was Tom Hyde.
Tom Hyde.
Was on the front leading in to the final hairpin. And you could see he was digging deep. What an honour for himself. He must go, that is the best ride I've ever done.
Hits the straight, then gets out of the saddle and still keeps the momentum and the pace up. And the only 2 or 3 guys that came past him, well, actually it was the 5 place getters, but he still placed quite highly. But his effort, I think it was from the top of the pimple too.
Yeah.
So over the pimple, into the headwind, around past the netball courts, leading into the straight, then gets out of the saddle, goes again. And halfway down the straight, you can see Tommy Bolton come across on his right-hand side.
Teamwork 101, because he just put everything in for that last couple of 100 metres. That was
a very impressive ride, Tom, because I can remember back only 3 years ago when you turned up at Heffron the first time, and you just got yourself a bike, you lived locally, you've heard about the racing, and he said, "Can I join in?" And I said, "Yeah, go right ahead." Off he goes at C grade, comes back the next week, has another go. And so 3 or 4 years later, it's good to see you making your mark. Well done.
Yeah, that was, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's some teamwork for you. And so I'm just flashing up here now the results for each grade. Again, super high turnout of finishes. 15 of 17 finished in A grade. 21 of 23 in B grade.
That's impressive. That's really, really impressive. And you can also see, if you march your names down through that B grade list, everyone, all those riders there play a huge role in the outcome of a race, and that's what you want to see.
And the interesting, there was only 2 non-finishes in B grade, one of them being Zach Miller. Was that his first B grade race?
Yeah, Zach is going to have another go next week.
Good work, Zach.
So
he stepped up. He's realising that it's that ramp up.
Well, you're only going to get better, Zach. You're going to get better by riding with better riders.
So you'd have to think B grade probably need to get themselves another 5 riders in order to get, so that if they can get the 30 riders, maybe they can get that illustrious win that's just so deserting them at the moment. But other than that, I look at that finish and go, look at all those riders. It was pretty top quality. C grade, Benny Dewhurst got the win again. I know we'll talk about promotion. Sure. Pogsack.
Oh, Pogsack loves it. He comes across the line. I can't remember.
Second this week.
Yeah, he was second in C grade. I can't remember where he was overall. He's got his hand in the air. He's got a big grin on his face. And I thought, well, that's weird. I didn't think he just won C grade. I thought Ben Dewhurst. And he's so excited that he got second, which is fantastic. So good ride, Pogsack.
And I also like the performance of Lily Fasan again. She did a mountain of work in that race. She basically was one of the leading drivers.
Yeah. Wanted to point out that we had 4 girls race on Tuesday night. Nicolo rode once again really well in B grade and got the women's win. But all 3 girls, Amy, Lily, and Nicole Wilson, who rode C grade, top 10, or top 9 actually. So all 3 girls in the top half of the finishes.
Mm. And it's that whole, like, and I suppose I should then very quickly then pop up once I do that. The other rider we probably need to call out when we do look at the results, because he probably won't feature in the point score, is Cameron Fraser. Again, 4th. But I didn't think of him as, never thought of him as a sprinter.
Yeah, well, he's won one. There's a lovely photo you'll see in the gallery that comes through from Richard of his dad giving him a big hug after. So once again, Cam, well done, good result.
Yeah, that was a very good result. But I suppose in a way, when we now look at the point score, that's probably Nicole Lowe. Do you think she's wrapped it up?
You'd have to think so.
Yeah, I think unless Lily can roll her. I think Lily just seems to be getting stronger and stronger every week.
Either Nicole or Lily, both on 5 points. They get 2 wins. B grade gets slaughtered, put to the sword. Nicole doesn't finish, but even if Nicole finishes, chances are she's still going to pick up either 2 points or 1 point.
Yeah, that's it. So it'll come down to the maestro, Colin Imunger, conducting the groups, looking at the times.
See, I keep saying it's like an opera. So, like, Colin is the conductor.
He is the maestro. He'll start wearing a cape. He's got to wear a cape to Tuesday nights. And then C grade. Now, this is an interesting one. Benny Dewhurst has wrapped up the series for C grade. And I know he was super happy in the last couple of weeks. That's how he's been riding to maintain and win that. Pong's actually now in second, surprisingly. Now, and then Harry Smith. Now, with Benny Dewhurst, you came out after the race and said, well done, Benny. Welcome to B grade.
Well, he's won 3 races, and on the theory that you're only going to get better by riding in a stronger environment. I think Ben's ready for B grade. He certainly proved he's more than capable in C grade. Didn't really rode most of the season last year, but really didn't make an impact. Stayed in C grade, and this year he's made an impact, and I think it's time. Although I understand his dad's not so keen on.
Look, I'll take that controversial opinion there. I'll take that kind of the other stance and say I'd actually keep Ben in C grade. I think personally, and I'm sure I'll cop some flack for this, I think Ben is the fastest C grade rider. He's the fastest sprinter. No question. Down the line, no one's beating him. I don't know if he's the strongest C grader. And I'd actually like to see in the last 2 weeks, rather than Ben ride B grade, actually ride C grade and just sit on the front and control it.
Drive it, mate.
Drive it. Maybe even have a crack off the front with 1 or 2 others if you want to, towards the end of the race. Exactly. Pick 2 strong men to go off the front win. But prove that you actually are the strongest and not just the fastest C grader. And I know people understand that distinction between being just winning a sprint, because otherwise Rolo, he'd be sitting in A grade because he is without a doubt one of the fastest sprinters in B grade. But he hasn't got that all-round strength because he doesn't do the training as much these days. So I think Benny Dewhurst, I think he should stay in C grade.
It's a good thought. So I'll take that to the C.
He'll then tell me to get stuffed and ride B grade and drop B.
Take it to the selection committee discussion at the weekend.
That's right.
We review all the other race results. Take everything into consideration.
Everything, the thinking and the chess. See, it's just the opera, it's the chess, it's everyone's sitting there moving the pieces. But look, he's wrapped up the series, so congratulations, Ben Dewhurst. You will be the C grade point score winner. So that then takes us to B grade with Benny Coates. I mean, that was a huge performance, 3rd overall on Tuesday night in that sprint.
That's Ben's best ride at Heffron, bar none. He rode smart, he rode strong, and 3rd overall. Sorry, third.
Yeah, 3rd. Yeah, so
third,
Tom,
that's right. Yeah,
Jack,
3rd place.
Benny Coates, and there is a B's in it between him and Jack.
Yeah.
He's
Jack
now
just got him. Jack just actually got him.
Basically, just a throw. He was coming faster. He was coming faster than Jack. So that was, Jack, he obviously knew he wasn't getting around Tommy, but still that throw from the line from Ben Coates, without a doubt, his best ride, puts him equal first with Chris Simpson.
Chris Simpson, yeah.
Why would Ben go to A grade if he can win the B grade series?
Well, I think Lucas's training mate and schoolmate is doing so well on A grade, and I sort of rate them about equal overall in terms of their ability, strength, and experience. And the last couple of weeks, I think he would benefit. He wants to try and prove himself. He certainly did that on Tuesday night. And just going back to the finish, he's certainly got a kick on. Actually, that was pointed out by someone who knows. Nick Cupid said very fast in the finish, and he proved that, didn't he?
Now, is he on unrestricted gears?
No unrestricted gears anymore.
Right. But if he went to Europe, would he have to ride restricted gears in Europe?
Been a while since I've raced in Europe.
I wasn't just checking.
I just can't. I'd have to send a message to someone in Europe. Robbie Allen and Chris Simpson are both in the driver's seat. I guess Chris Simpson a little bit more so because he's got that 2-point advantage. So Robbie's got to win 2 races outright and hope that Chris doesn't place.
Or Benny Coates stays in B
and
gets a win, takes the series.
Cleans up. Yeah.
Maybe he rides one more week in B grade.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll be in the discussion panel at the weekend.
Tell you what, this discussion panel, it's going to be a long meeting, mate. You better clear your schedule.
Yeah. People think I've got nothing to do all day.
They wonder why you turn early on Saturday. And it's not because you can't. You've just got too many things to do in regards to Tuesday night Heffron.
Too many things on my plate. Dave Evans doesn't think so. But says the busiest man in the world.
Actually, there was one other one. I wanted to call out a couple of people actually. Now, before we move to the other big announcements of the week, Dan Corbett. Great to see him racing and not just sweeping on the side of the road. He raced very well. He didn't finish, but he was back having a crack after.
Was Dan racing?
He was racing. So well done, Dan.
I tell you what, comes up to me at the beginning of the race. You know what, John? But I haven't raced for a long time. Just going to sit on the back and stay out of the way. Second lap in, the little mini break goes. Who moves to the front to try and make a dent into the gap? Dan Corbett. Yeah, okay, sitting on the back there. And then the next, about 3 laps later, he's in front of me. We're going into the pimple. He's 12th wheel, I'm 13th wheel. He decides to move to the front from 12th wheel. Dan, just relax.
Mate, there we go. He just loves racing, and it's great to have him back.
No, it was good. It was good to see him back and fold.
And then, of course, we have to thank Vaughan McVilly for jumping on there and getting on the microphone on Tuesday night and helping out. I'm sure everyone enjoyed having Vaughan.
It was good
on the microphone.
It was. The only letdown from Vaughan, none of the neighbours came over to complain about the noise. So, Vaughan, next time you're on the microphone, ramp it up a bit.
Yeah, but you're probably right. He was, when I listened back on the finish, he was a little bit more restrained than Paul sometimes, particularly in that final lap sprint. But look, it's part of the atmosphere of Heffron Park. With that, the big announcement for the week, the Char Grill Charlie's rider of the week. Get the voucher and also just confirm the expiry date on those vouchers. They're all good to go, aren't they? No expiry. There we go. Good to hear.
Mate, Charlie Dollars. Apparently there wasn't an expiry date on the family packs, but just go down to Coogee, see Mark Silverman, and he'll honour it. No problem.
And just say Tuesday night Heffron sent me here.
I've been thinking about this because that's all I think about since Tuesday night is who is going to be the rider of the week. So I might as well go first, and then you can override me. Or I was very impressed with our international visitor. Pretty good. 15 years old. He's the size of a sort of 8-year-old kid. You're not very big, Andrew. I can tell you that. But I thought, no, we got to give it to a local. This week, my rider of the week, Ben Coates. Best ride he's ever had. Nails it, proves that he can mix it with A grade, 3rd overall. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And the good thing is, that Paul Craft, even though he wasn't at the race, would have voted for Ben Coates as well anyway. You guys have just got some kind of ring going on here. But I thought for a little while I was leaning to Tom Hyde's performance in that final lap.
Yep.
That's his may not be rider of the week, but that's his best ride of his life.
Yeah, true.
So he gets ride of his life. Tom Hyde. Greg Rule is my rider of the week. Mr. 39 seasons.
Yeah.
He is doing a mountain of work in that B grade. But most of all, when not only was he rolling to us, he was rolling in that vital period of say like 8 to 5 to go, like that kind of period where everyone suddenly just has to have a bit of a breath and a bit of he was there with Johnny Part rolling turn after turn on the front. And I thought, I'm going to recognise B graders this week because I thought they rode so well and a win just continues to elude them, unfortunately. Greg Rule gets mine.
That's a good pick. And you certainly don't need to encourage me to make any votes for Raleigh.
Yeah.
Because if you saw my sunglass cap, trust me.
And I'm not just saying that because I actually do need new sunglasses.
No,
but yeah, other than that, Richard Brooks, he rode very well. All of the Centennial Park, Papard, Phil Taff rode well, Neil Percival. But yeah, I just thought watching Rule, and you just think, mate, 39 seasons going, still going so strong. What an inspiration.
He is. He said to me yesterday, he said, you know what? God, I'm going to be 60 in a couple of years. So I can just hang in there for another couple of years to make it 60. And then he said, oh, I realize you're still going, so I'm going to keep going for another 10 years. So I reckon Rory's going to get to 50 years.
Right. So you've gone Benny Coates. Paul Kraft has gone Benny Coates. I've gone Grant Rule. Unfortunately, I'll be overruled on the basis. So therefore, he's done it again with his third place, first B grader over the line, which is a great segue. So congratulations, Benny Coates. You are
Well
our
done,
Char
Benny.
Grill Charlie's Rider of the Week.
Yeah,
With your 10.
Might find an extra voucher for you to get some chicken nuggets to take.
Oh, it's so generous of you. Maybe give him an extra and give it to, so he can give it to his good buddy Lucas Stevenson, who's riding so well, having stepped up. But what I don't understand, John, and I know a few people hit me up straight after the race, was Benny Coates, first B grader over the line in third place. Chris Simpson standing on the podium as first B grader, as well as Benny Coates. So
Oh, that's very easy to understand. Historically, we always used to have a first unplaced grade rider. So if, as it happened on Tuesday night, Benny got third, he got, rewarded for getting third. And, we have, how many places do we have on the podium? We have
you've
five.
got,
So,
six, because you're first female as well.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, of course, six. And it's always podium looks good with six people on it. So Chris Simpson stepped up and filled that spot.
So it's all about the aesthetics. Really? So what you're saying is it's all about the social media. It's all about the photograph at the end. You like a nice, even number.
Right now, I think this week's podcast is going to go viral in Southern California. And that just goes to show.
We'll probably appear on Lance Armstrong's podcast now.
I'm expecting
him and Johan will be talking about it.
Yeah,
they'll talk about the Milan San Remo and also the performance.
It's coming. I can feel it coming.
Yeah,
I can definitely feel it coming.
Obviously, a relation to Chris Horner, obviously
that's right.
A stepbrother. So they've only given him the first couple of digits.
Frankly, Alexi, I don't see it being too much time before we get a call from Lance to say, or Johan saying, well, we've got to break down Tour of Flanders from the weekend. How was out here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here he goes, and look at that second wheel is Langdon. He is a craft cyclist. He's going to weave his way.
And they'll be breaking that because there is only 2 weeks remaining.
Yes,
so get your entries in on Buncher. Entries have opened now, I assume, John?
Yep, they certainly are open on Buncher. Let's pray for some continued good weather because at this time of the year we get one cloudy night. Things get very dark. But penultimate round is next Tuesday and the season finale the week after. And the season finale is always a great night for, even if you just come down to support all the riders who have been racing. But yeah, hard to imagine that when all this started 39 years ago that we'd be doing, talking about on a podcast and still having fun. And that's
I think podcasts existed 39 seasons ago, but we will remind you with only 2 weeks remaining, racing starts pretty much bang on 6 so that we can take advantage of the full light. So if you are one of the illustrious riders wearing one of the jerseys, please ensure you're at the start line just a few minutes beforehand, because we like to get a photo every week of those who you may not be wearing it at the end of the race, but at the start of the race, you're starting as your Pointscore series leader.
And on that note,
I'll see you next Tuesday.